Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched 3 more episodes from Season 2 of The Muppet Show. And these are the episodes that aired in New York between February 6th, 1978 and February 20th, 1978. And those are the episodes featuring guests Elton John, Bob Hope, and Julie Andrews. And we also dug back into the Muppet Vault a little bit to watch something that we previously did not have access to. We touched on it briefly in a past episode that in 1971, specifically September 12th, 1971, the Sesame Street Muppets showed up at the Evening at the Pops, a special program with Arthur Fiedler and friends from Sesame Street. The longest title ever. But that was uploaded by somebody to YouTube in October of this year, and so we were finally able to go back and watch it. And
It was like the raw. Like studio video of it too.
Yeah, and if more people are out there looking to do that kind of thing, we welcome it. Obviously, it helps our podcast a lot if we can go back and watch as many old things as possible.
If you work at a TV station, no one's gonna get too mad if you steal a Muppet thing from the 70s, I don't think.
My favorite is the description on the person's video that they uploaded. Just says, rare? ? And it's like, yeah, there's a reason that everyone freaked out when you uploaded this, because we've never been able to see it ever.
It's weird that somebody would upload it without knowing exactly what it was.
Yeah. They must have just like found a tape in their garage or something like that. And we're just like, I guess, I don't know. I don't find this on YouTube yet, so I'll put it up here.
Yeah.
But before we get into talking about what we're talking about today, an important thing to note that happens during this time period in February 1978 is that Don Sahlin passes away. Don Sahlin, who we've talked about a lot on this podcast, is someone who sometimes referred to himself as the guardian of the essence of the Muppets.
I'd agree with that. I was thinking about that a lot when I was watching these episodes and looking at like non-Don Sahlin puppets versus Don Sahlin puppets and being like, there's just something special there.
Yeah. So we're going to do a little bit of a history rundown of both Don Sahlin's history with the Muppets and also just who Don Sahlin was. Because, yeah, he is such an important figure that I think doesn't really get talked about as much as many other people who work with the Muppets. But, yeah, Don Sahlin, born June 19th, 1928, died February 19th, 1978. His obituary said that relatives said that he appeared to have died from natural causes, possibly a heart attack. And then later on, this is unverified because somebody claiming to be his brother on a forum said that the only condition noted on his death certificate was fatty liver. And there was no mention of any heart condition. So it's kind of unclear of exactly
what the heck?
How he died. Even weirder and adding more mystery around his death, his apartment was apparently in shambles, and there were missing valuables and credit cards. It's basically his brother went to his apartment on the 20th and found him dead from an apparent heart attack or some sort of natural cause, and his apartment was all messed up, and no one really knows what happened. So, it led them to suspect foul play, but that was never confirmed, and police never determined if there was even a crime. And apparently, this is all, obviously this sounds mysterious, and it's still mysterious this many years later, partially because apparently Don Sahlin was a very private person. He was, sort of like a lifelong, bachelor, never married or anything, and there's a note, I believe, in I think it's in Brian J. Jones's book that I read this, that apparently near 3:30, 4 o'clock every day at the workshop, he would just disappear for a few hours. He would leave, say he has like personal matters, disappear for a few hours, and then he would come back at like 7 o'clock at night to work on Muppets more. And no one has any idea what he was up to. And so it's like, could he have just been like going to his favorite bakery to have a cupcake and a cup of coffee? Sure. But nobody knows. And so it like obviously adds this like mysterious cloud to everything. But yeah, Don Sahlin started working with puppets on the Howdy Doody show. He had an apprenticeship where he would just like sort of work weekends on the Howdy Doody show helping out. And he went on to do a bunch of special effects and stop motion for other shows and films throughout the late 50s, early 60s. And in the early 60s, he was working in New York with Burr Tillstrom, who was one of Jim Henson's heroes from Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. And because of this, he would go on to meet Jim Henson. Where, Sam?
At a puppet convention.
Correct. At the Detroit Puppetry Convention, to be specific. Jim contacted him after that to design Rolf for the Purina commercials in 1963, and the rest, as they say, is history.
His first Muppet was the best Muppet ever made.
Nailed it right out the gate. We also got to see Don Sahlin already in our watchings on screen. He was in the Muppets on Puppets and the other like similar little Muppets on Puppets things that we discussed in episode 6 of the podcast.
Just a strange man skulking around.
Yes, very clearly a man who is does not really want to be on camera, but is really good at building puppets. And Don is credited with designing and or building. There's a whole bunch of names here, and this is not even all of them. Bert and Ernie, Rolf, Cookie Monster, Oscar the Grouch, Beaker, Sam the Eagle, Dr. Teeth. As we noted previously on this podcast, in the mid-60s, when he joins the Muppets, you can see an immediate change in quality of the puppets because he made the LaChoy Dragon, Tammanilla Grinderfall, Gosh Posh, Featherstone, Fig, Thog, Splurge, the characters from Emmett Otter, and this week's Muppet of the Week, the Beautiful Day Monster. But we also saw the other thing that Don Sahlin brought to the party was pyrotechnics. He kind of brought this whole explosion as a punchline thing to the Muppets in the mid-60s when he joined up because he had done special effects for movies and things, and so he knew what he was doing. And obviously that took off and became a huge part of the Muppets' whole, toolbox of jokes.
They were kind of doing that already with the coffee commercials, though, right?
True. Yes, it was there, but I think it got better, like more convincing.
They started using actual fireballs instead of maybe like flour or something, whatever they were doing before.
Yeah, and we have like Scrap Flap is one of the examples of an early Don Sahlin one where it's all these like heads blowing off and lots of smoke effects.
Stuff actually built into puppets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Don Sahlin's very, very skilled hand at building these puppets based on very, very simple sketches from Jim Henson. Because if you look back at the Jim Henson's like doodle books, the drawings of Rolf do not look as charming and cute as Rolf does today.
No.
But Don Sahlin was able to look at a sketchy Jim Henson drawing and go, okay, I kind of see the soul of this character, and I'm going to make it cute.
Yeah. Jim Henson was not the best drawer in the world.
No, but he could convey an idea to somebody like Don Sahlin that was good enough. And beyond building specific characters, Don Sahlin also contributed to significant things to the Muppets' overall vibe. And I think when we talk about the best Muppets are created by Don Sahlin, at least one of these things is a big part of that. One of them is the magic triangle. And the other one is the Henson stitch. And if you ever look into making puppets, these are two things that puppet makers talk about all the time. The magic triangle is basically about positioning the eyes so that the eyes are slightly cross-eyed across the nose. So when you're like looking into a Muppet's eyes, it feels like they're actually looking at you as opposed to just like a dead-eyed piece of cloth. And this is something that Jim Henson actually talked about. He said, it would be the last thing Don and I would do. And he would always want me there to make sure it was right for both of us, making sure the eyes had a point of focus, because without that, you had no character. It's also worth noting that, we can say it, but Jim Henson also was quoted as saying that Don Sahlin is the man most responsible for the look of the Muppets.
So did he invent the Henson stitch?
So it sort of seemed like no, but he incorporated it into these puppets in a way that was, I guess, considered more important because a lot of people weren't thinking about how Stitches looked on television. But when he started making these puppets for Jim Henson, they were talking about making puppets for TV. They were like, well, we want these things to look as real as possible. So, for those that don't know, the Henson stitch is basically a way of stitching two pieces of fabric together when you're making a pattern that hides the seam as much as possible. So that way you don't see the fact that there's a seam running straight down the middle of Kermit's face.
But Jim Henson didn't invent it either.
No, I don't think it's one of those things like you can probably look back like 1,000 years to see somebody stitching in the quote Henson stitch. But it is something.
Got to slap his name on it.
I don't even know if he called it the Henson stitch. I don't know that Jim was like, well, I see you're using the Henson stitch there, Don.
They say this Henson stitch is really hot stuff.
But after Don Celine's death, Jim Henson had a bench with an inscription placed in Don Celine's favorite spot in Hampstead Heath. Which is apparently the highest point overlooking the city of London, which is sort of, I guess, near where they were filming the Muppet Show. And actually following, which this sort of feels like they're creeping in on Don's tribute a little bit. Following Jim Henson's death in 1990, the same bench was also dedicated to Jim Henson.
Oh, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, well, Jim dedicated that to Don. You don't like you can put in a second bench. You can go see that bench still there at Hampstead Heath. It was apparently renewed with like new wood and engravings back in 2012, so you can still go check that out. But yeah, just wanted to highlight Don Celine a bit and talk about him. He will go on to get credits in a few more Muppet projects, like the Muppet movie and stuff, because he designed puppets that go on to be in those projects. And so for a while, he will continue to get credits on screen, and he will also get Fraggle Rock is dedicated to him. I think at the very end of the very last episode, it says something like this series was for Don.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Very Don Cellini looking characters in that.
Yeah. But yeah, any other thoughts on Don Celine, Sam?
The thing that this podcast has taught me is that Jim Henson was such a product of, like all of the Muppet stuff, was such a product of a group of people working on stuff that probably not due to anything Jim did, doesn't really get any kind of recognition for anything, but who probably actually did a lot more to like make the Muppets what we know the Muppets to be. And he is definitely one of the like earliest and biggest people who did that, but like Frank Oz and Jane Henson and all those people, like it was such a act of teamwork. And maybe it is kind of like a Kermit the Frog thing where Jim was like, oh, well, I'm the one doing all this. You weirdos are just weirdoing around. I don't know. But that's what it feels like a little bit. But yeah, Don Celine, as we said before, makes a hell of a puppet. And if all he contributed to the world was Rolf, then that would have been enough.
But he contributed almost every early Muppet you can picture and think of, aside from like Kermit and the Sam and Friends ones. Pretty much everything between the Sam and Friends days and the Muppet Show had Don Celine's fingerprints on it. All right, so Sam, how about you tell us what we watched this week?
On February 6, 1978, music legend Elton John graced the stage of the Muppet Theater. Backstage, a few things are happening. Scooter, who seems to be an Elton John superfan, has a song he wants to pitch to Elton John, but Kermit won't let him, so Scooter does his standard, my uncle owns theater thing, and gets to do it. But it turns out the song he's pitching is Benny and the Jets, which is weird. Meanwhile, a chicken messes up the Swedish Chef segment, so the chef spends the rest of the show running around the theater, trying to kill the chicken, running through other sketches and stuff like that. Then there's a very miniature plot involving Sam Eagle learning that all musicians are in fact weirdos, including Mozart, who wore high heels and stockings. Stand-up moments here include plenty of Elton John musical acts, ranging from pretty straightforward stuff, like Elton John in the Electric Mayhem performing Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, to more goofy, like, literal versions of songs like you've talked about before, like Elton performing Crocodile Rock on top of a rock surrounded by hungry crocodiles. This episode also has one of my new favorite Muppet moments, Elton and Miss Piggy singing Don't Go Breaking My Heart, because Miss Piggy's so funny and charming and cute in this one. And then this episode also has, I think, the first appearance we've seen of one of my new favorite Muppets, and here it is, the big reveal. The Afghan Hound Muppet.
That was also one of Devin, my wife's, favorite Muppets when we were watching this. She was like, I love that dog.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a Rolf adjacent. Like, Muppets look best when they're dogs, I think is what I discovered in these. Because there's another dog in the Julie Andrews one that looks really cool, too. So the medium of Muppet was made to convey dog. in its
Baskerville is
cutest
also a
form.
great dog.
Yes, Baskerville is amazing too, and also in this very dog-heavy episode of the Muppet Show. And another standout, not a good one. Elton John is not a very good actor.
No, I had that in my notes as well. He is just a straight up bad actor. I think I think that's okay to say. Sorry, Elton, if you're listening.
Yeah, that would be amazing if you were, but also you didn't get much better by the time you were in the Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle either. So
I didn't
you
even
had
realize
about
he was
50
in that.
something Yeah, he's like a main character in it almost. He's kidnapped by the villain, and it kind of has to be like the court jester of the villain's lair. In a way.
Interesting. I would have thought after watching this, he would have been like, you know what? I'm going to stick to music forever and never do acting again.
He's got like 2 lines in it, and he sings a lot, but then he's got like 2 lines in it otherwise. But anyway, yes, very out of place, more so than almost anyone else we've seen, I would say. So a little bit about Elton John. You should know who Elton John is, probably. He was like 31 in this episode, but he was already an established music legend. He had released almost all of the most recognizable music that he would release by this point. Early 1978 was also kind of interesting in that it saw the rise of 2 musical acts that I think of as very 80s, Prince and Van Halen. They both released their first albums in the beginning of 1978.
Whoa, that's weird.
So we're basically in the 80s now. Also in mid 1978, Keith Moon, who has been like suggested as one of the inspirations for Animal, died in a swimming pool. Next up, on February 13th, television legend Bob Hope graced the stage of the Muppet Theater. Sort of. See, Bob Hope was big into charity events, and it seems as if he's quadruple booked himself on the day he's supposed to do the Muppet Show. I can't think of like a fun or interesting way to describe what is happening in this episode, so I won't try. Bob just randomly shows up a bunch of times in between having to like run off to other things, and he has to hurry off. He's only on stage for a little bit. And then at the end, he finally does a sketch, the cowboy sketch specifically, and that's good. But also Animal, in kind of a B-plot, is looking for a hobby and is trying stuff like alligator wrestling and overhand bowling. So standouts in this episode are, I don't really know, aside from the cowboy sketch in which Bob, Hope, and a horse joke at each other and sing Don't Fence Me In, which I thought was very good. This was a very weird episode. The first sketch where Piggy and a bunch of other pigs sing a calypso song about Kermit and Piggy being in love was extremely weird. And it felt like something that they would do on Muppets Tonight, I thought.
It did feel like that,
It was a song about Miss Piggy, which they have not ever really done. Like, they always sing standards and covers and stuff like that. So it's so weird to have her sing like a little ditty about loving Kermit. Then Kermit comes out and sings about eating pork, which is horrible.
Yeah, he says, bib and napkin, knife and fork is the only way that I'll touch pork.
Yeah, fuck you. And there's also a super weird anti-hunting version of classic protest song For What It's Worth, aka the song that goes, "Stop children, what's that sound?" Starring some Emmett Otter puppets. I think at least the rabbits there.
There's a few. I think like about half those animals are from Emmett Otter.
The scary rabbit was the one that jumped out at me.
This episode was full of, I put an enjoyable episode full of terrifying images.
Well, what else was there?
There's a few that I'll wait until we get into talking about this episode specifically, because there's a few just like very alarming scenes that happen throughout this episode that like aren't really addressed in any way. But there are things that happen in this episode where I'm just like, wait, what? Why is that happening?
I can't think of any others. Okay, I'm interested to see what. Oh, I can think of a couple actually. Okay. Anyway, there's also some pretty bad racism in one part with the Japanese pole vaulting team. Some slightly bad looking Muppets pop up there.
Surprisingly, and also almost unbelievably, according to the book of Muppets and Men, one of those pole vaulters was performed by Christopher Reeve.
I saw that as well. He was just friends with the Muppet guys and was hanging out, I guess.
Yeah, I don't, like, that part didn't, like, stand out to me when I was reading that book, so I don't remember that part, but I'm guessing he was just hanging out on set and then was like, hey, can I do the puppets? And they were like, sure, you can do this one random background pole vaulter.
He's on the show at one point.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's season 3 or 4 he gets to be on the show.
Oh, So he just hung out for a few years.
Yeah, he's just like just doing background Muppets for a while, and finally like, okay, Superman, you earned your spot.
Well, anyway, at this point, we've seen Bob Hope a few times, and we'll see him a few more times, including in the Muppet movie. Hope was an actor and a comedian going all the way back to the radio era. He hosted the Academy Awards more than anyone else ever has, and as this episode indicates, he hosted tons of charity, benefits, and events. Probably the most well-known of those was his involvement in the USO, or the United Service Organization, which is a nonprofit that organizes live entertainment for the U.S. Armed Forces. He had been doing shows for soldiers from World War II to the Gulf War, which is crazy. And he also has something in common with the other two guests this week. Do you know what it is? He's British.
What?
Yeah, he was born in England.
He's like the least British person.
Yeah. He moved to America when he was a little kid.
Okay.
But he's got he's like knighted or something. If you look at his thing, he's got the little royal honorary artist thing.
So we have like 2 knights and a dame this week?
Oh, is Elton John yeah,
he's Sir Elton John.
I don't think Bob Hope is full knight. I think Bob Hope has like the first step to being a knight. But so yeah, a squire perhaps. He's Elton John's squire. But I think that's funny because Bob Hope gets rolled so much into the like good old days Americana bullshit that I think it's funny he's a British guy. It seems like Sam Eagle would learn that and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he'd be like calling him an American hero. And then Kermit would be like, well, he was actually born in London, so sorry, Sam. He can't be president.
Finally, on February 20th, 1978, stage and screen superstar Julie Andrews also graced the stage of the Muppet Theater. Backstage, there's a damn cow hanging out. And a real cow, not even a Muppet cow. And no one knows why there's a cow back there or whose cow it is. So Scooter's trying to solve the mystery. Gonzo's trying to go on a date with the cow. But for some reason in all of this, nobody thought to ask Julie Andrews if it was her cow, which it is her cow. But by the end of the show, the cow is gone because Gonzo took it out on a date. Standout moments in this episode include Julie Andrews herself, who's so charming and fun. Maybe better that we're not seeing a full hour-long special with her and just seeing a little bit of her, but still great. I love that Kermit talks about them being old friends and like on specials that they've been on before. I always like when he does that. And she even sings that weird "When You Were a Tadpole and I Was a Fish" song that they sang in Julie's Favorite Things. I do not understand why she was a fish, but whatever.
I still don't get it either. I've heard that song twice now, and I don't know why she was a fish.
Does she think fish also metamorphose like
into humans?
Do? Yeah. But she says she wrote that song for Kermit, which I didn't realize the first time through, which is cute. It's called Song for Kermit, right?
Well, it's either called When You Were a Tadpole or Song for Kermit, depending on which source you're looking at.
That's nice.
But yeah, she did apparently write it for that the previous special that we watched. She sang that one in My Favorite Things special that we discussed back in episode 18. Right. But we will. I know you just said you prefer her in smaller doses and not in an hour-long thing. But I got bad news for you, Sam. In a couple episodes, we're discussing another Julie Andrews special.
It's not our next one. It's in a couple.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Julie Andrews continues to seem like she thinks Kermit is real and that she's in love with him, which is great. There's also a couple of good formula-breaking skits in this one. There's an At the Dance that turns into a sad Gonzo song, which was fun, and a host segment, sort of, with Julie and Kermit trying to talk, but then around them, chaos is unfolding, and that part also kind of furthered my new appreciation for Robin, because they're shooting him out of a cannon, and he's like, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
He's bopping around in the background. It's very cute. And also an observation I made, Beaker does not really meep yet. And I think that's maybe why I like him more.
I think it's also one of those things of sort of like Fozzie's Waka Waka or Kermit's like, yay!
Right.
Like it's sort of like a Mandela effect type of thing where we think this was like a key part of their personality forever when really it's sort of a like Flandersization of the characters where they take the one trait. And nowadays, if you're going to have Fozzie on something and he doesn't say Waka Waka, people are going to be pissed.
Ooh, where's the Waka Waka?
Right, and he says it like once ever on the Muppet Show. So it is one of those things that I think, similar to the Meep, will become a personality trait of Beaker later on, but is not so much right now.
I think Kermit did the yay and flail thing like one time that we've seen so far.
He did it
maybe?
really big in the Julie Andrews introduction. He is really excited
Yeah.
for Julie Andrews.
Yeah. But he certainly doesn't do it every episode
No.
by a long shot. But yeah, he doesn't meep. He just is kind of silent, which I think works a little bit. I don't know. It's just more classy. We get a trashier Beaker when he starts meeping, I think. So you know who Julie Andrews is if you listen to this show. And if you don't, go listen to the 3 other episodes we made all about specials that she has made with the Muppets. And she's about to have another one, which Matt just mentioned, that we'll talk about in a few episodes, which I'm sure will be just as boring as all the rest of them. Finally, we time warped back to 1971 when Sesame Street was only like a year and some change old, or maybe just 2 years old.
About a year and a half.
Okay. It was already red hot. Big Bird's head was not tiny anymore. It was already the right size. So we watched the cast of Sesame Street join the Boston Pops for a night at the orchestra. Bob, Gordon, Susan, Mr. Hooper, Big Bird, Kermit, Ernie, and Cookie Monster perform little skits and sing all the hit songs like Rubber Ducky, I Got 2 Eyes, that one alphabet song that Big Bird sings, Being Green, and lots more. There are a billion kids there. They are running up and down the aisles. They are going completely insane. The conductor guy, what's his name?
Arthur Fiedler.
He looks pissed. And
it seems like in some points he's like really into it. He likes the idea that they're doing this. But I put in my notes that some conductors look like they're having fun when they're conducting. And Arthur Fiedler is not one of those conductors.
There's a part where Big Bird conducts the orchestra, and I feel like the camera cuts to him, and you can tell that he is thinking like, you are making a mockery of my very old, honored profession.
Yeah.
There's a giant yellow bird conducting my orchestra, and I have somehow contributed to the downfall of modern society, is what it feels like. But even though it's very chaotic, it's good in a kind of early Muppety way. And it's nice to see the Sesame Street characters again. They're some of my favorite guys, and we never talk about them. So also around 1971, for some Muppet-based context, The Frog Prince was either about to come out, or had already come out, or it aired in Canada and hadn't aired in the U.S. yet, or something like that. The Great Santa Claus Switch was the year before this. The next year will be Muppets Musicians of Bremen and the very horny Perry Como Winter Show. And it's kind of crazy to me to think that we're still like 6 years away from the Muppet Show at this point. Kermit still has his double fringe.
Yeah, he's got his very weird early 70s double collar where it's 13 points and it's 2 layers and it just looks like very busy and like crowd in his head. And like later on he'll simplify that on the Muppet Show with his 11-point single collar, and that's basically the way we know him now.
I got kind of bored I had to fast forward through some of it because it starts off with a lot of like regular classical music, which just seems like a bad choice to me. I don't know how they think those kids are going to sit through that.
Yeah, it starts off and it's just like, hooray, here we go. Here's Entry of the Gladiators and other classical music and all this stuff that like kids maybe heard on a cartoon once. But the reason they're there, sir, is to see Big Bird.
Yeah.
And so like first they have like the humans come out first. Is like, hey, look, it's Bob and Susan, and the kids are like kind of interested.
Cool.
Oh,
Bob
yeah,
and Susan are great. Yeah,
if I was there as a kid, I'd be excited, but like clearly not what they came for. And the humans are immediately upstaged because Cookie Monster comes out to sing with the humans and is so much better than they could ever be.
Yeah. That was the best part of the whole thing. Cookie Monster has like a little singing part in this piece about a cuckoo, and he says cookie instead of cuckoo at certain points, but he gets really lost, and his piece of music that he's supposed to be following along with is really long and is like getting all over the place. And he's getting more and more off cue, and it's very good.
Yeah, there's a couple times during that where Frank Oz, and who is ever right-handing for Cookie Monster, is doing a great job where they're like fluttering through the air and like waving his little fingers and like he's being a bird. And then at the very end of the Cookie Monster bit, the conductor comes over to like give him a cookie. And at first he drops it, and Cookie Monster looks so upset that
he's like, "Give me the cookie."
Yeah. But yeah, interesting notes about this one, or at least one very interesting note that I found on Muppet Wiki, that apparently in the book Sesame Street Unpaved, Danny Epstein, who is the musical coordinator for Sesame Street, said that when they played with the Boston Pops, the musicians were not allowed to squeeze rubber duckies in addition to playing their own instruments, unless they were paid extra, because apparently a rubber ducky was considered to be a second instrument, and each musician was supposed to receive additional pay if they played two instruments. So when it came time for the actual performance of Rubber Ducky, only the percussion players got to squeeze the ducks because it was determined that the rubber duck is a percussion instrument.
Well, makes sense to me. You got to follow the union rules, you know?
Yeah. I just love that they had to, somebody had to sit down and go, okay, I guess a rubber duck is a percussion instrument if we have to get technical here.
Yeah. I mean, they probably did have a union rep there who was like, oh, what is this?
Maybe that's what's happening at the very the beginning of this. We see a backstage meeting between Arthur Fiedler and the humans from Sesame Street, and then Big Bird's coming in, and they have it's a silent conversation that we don't get to hear. Maybe they were arguing about who gets to play the rubber duckies.
Yeah, Big Bird is like, well, what if we find a loophole? Maybe it counts as a percussion instrument. He is the one who had the idea.
That's his negotiation voice.
Yeah.
So I see here on line 8 of our contract. But yeah, you mentioned the chaos, and I think that's how this thing feels in general. I think it's a fun little watch. It's an hour long. There are chunks that you could definitely fast forward through because there's no Muppets and it's just classical music for children. But when Kermit comes out, he specifically is trying to get the kids' attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, hello, is everybody listening? Hello.
Yeah. And you can tell there's kids talking, but it must have been so much louder in there than it seems like from the recording. Oh, yeah. Because there's a couple times you can hear during Cookie Monster's bit, some kid just yells out Cookie! And you're like, oh, yeah, if there's 1,000 kids in one room all yelling for Cookie Monster at the same time, that, yeah. It just looks sticky in there as well.
It also, at one point, Bob and Susan have the terrible idea to bring up a few kids on stage to sing People in Your Neighborhood. And then a fourth kid's like, you know what? I'm also going to join. And just walks up on stage, and Bob is like, okay, this kid's our responsibility now. And chaos ensues because they decide to sing the song and put hats on the different kids so that they're playing different roles. Yeah. And all of these kids just immediately freeze in place because they're terrified.
When they put the hat on them and the kid is just it's completely stock still for 4 minutes.
Yeah. And the little girl who is dressed up like a fireman, and they say fireman 10 different times, and then all of a sudden they realize we can say firewoman. We could change that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote kids are extremely weird in that part because those kids were being extremely fucking weird.
Yes. And later on in the special, Big Bird comes out through the crowd, which another mistake they made, because you see everyone grabbing him and yanking on him and pulling on him, and then he almost falls off the stairs as he's going to walk up on stage, and you see Bob sprint to his side to be like, oh my God, please don't fall.
Bob. I love Bob.
Bob's good.
All I was thinking the whole time when he was singing was, I want to see a concert that he did in Japan.
Yes.
I bet it kicked ass.
And just having a Beatles level of fandom screaming at him.
Yeah. He's got so much style. I bet he just looked so cool.
He plays that little horn thing perfectly. In the first number, really they give them all instruments, but they give Gordon gets a triangle, Susan and Mr. Hooper get little bird whistles, but then Bob gets a real trumpet cornet type thing and is playing with the orchestra, and I'm like, oh, go off, Bob.
Now Gordon's playing the little drum, and he does a pretty good job with the little
drum. Oh, yeah, that's right. At that point, he does have a little drum.
Yeah, he didn't do too bad there.
But yeah, Mr. Hooper is no singer. He's often he needs to be reminded that he even is supposed to be singing.
Which is charming.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's clearly got the energy of something that was done for a live performance, not for TV, and just happened to be filmed.
They also seem like they're friends. The human
Yes,
hosts.
It is nice to see them helping each other out. And there's one point where I think Bob or Gordon yanks Mr. Hooper off the stage of nope, we're going this way.
Yeah, there is clearly a collective what have we gotten ourselves into?
Yes,
feeling.
which I feel like if you watch, I think they talk about this mostly in like I Am Big Bird. They talk about a lot of those like early live shows and how they were just a little chaotic. They would tour around the country and perform for just rooms full of screaming children, and this feels like just an insight into one of those crazy times. And then, yeah, the other two sort of memorable, notable numbers from this is that Ernie pops up to sing Rubber Ducky, and Big Bird at the very end does come back to conduct the orchestra, and he does a very bad job, but decides to blame the orchestra.
Oh, yeah, I like that. These guys don't know how to play at all.
Yeah, he's like yelling. He's like, "You guys are terrible. You don't know how to play."
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Big Bird, you suck at this. That's why."
It's funny that Ernie does Rubber Ducky, and he's naked, and then at the end, all the Muppets come out for one last bow, and Ernie's still naked. They should have brought him a little shirt they could put on him, because he looks so naked.
It is a bit strange to have him undressed next to. I mean, Cookie Monster, to be fair, is also undressed.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be, and Kermit is also supposed to be.
Yeah, they're all naked. That's, I guess, maybe it's even. Is it better or worse that he is naked with them?
It's worse, because the implication of him wearing clothes is that he has visible genitalia.
That's the only reason someone would wear clothes.
Yeah. If I was smooth as a Ken doll, I would walk around nude all the time.
You're just a Cookie Monster walking around, just.
Or at least pantsless, like a Donald Duck situation.
I guess, yeah, if you think about, like, the fur situation of things with Cookie Monster, like, Chewbacca doesn't wear clothes, and we don't have a problem with that.
And Chewbacca has a child, so he clearly has genitals.
Or at least some way to reproduce. We don't know that, like, Wookiees don't have cloacas or something.
That's true. He sprays his semen onto something. I don't know how that works, really.
Yeah, maybe they're like fish. Like a female Wookiee lays a bunch of eggs, and then Chewbacca comes home and is like, "Here you go." Then,
here you go. What's his wife's name?
Oh, God. So there's Itchy, Lumpy, and...
I don't think she has a fun name like that, though.
She does. She has a nickname. Because I think Lumpy is his kid and Itchy is the grandpa.
I'm really disappointed in you right now.
Yeah, you should be. I think that's fair.
Mala Tobuk. Mala.
Oh, just
Her
Mala?
name's not fun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
maybe they
right.
changed it. Maybe in the Christmas special it was more fun. Because didn't Itchy get a funner, like a more serious name later?
Both Itchy and Lumpy have actual like Wookiee names where it's like Itchatuk or something like that.
Sure. It means beautiful singer in Wookiee language. Mala Tobuk.
Of course it does. Why not? But yes, there is the moment where they are all nude hanging out in presumably Ernie's bathtub, because he said he is in the bathtub.
I guess so, yeah.
So, time warping back to 1978. During this time period, specifically the same day as Elton John's episode aired of The Muppet Show, Jim Henson wrote in his journal that he was supposed to be traveling to London with his daughter Cheryl, but that they got snowed in and apparently had to spend a few days snowed in New York. And during this time, he filled like notebooks with pages of ideas and sketches for the Dark Crystal.
He's just been cranking on that thing for a long time.
Yeah, there's pictures of his notes on Jim's Red Book where you can see him pitching names for the Skeksis and the Gelflings and like all of his other ideas for things that are like close to Gelfling or Skeksis of like, I don't know, maybe these things.
It's funny to, I guess it's not funny. It's more just like classic Jim to me that he can work for years on something and then it's the Dark Crystal, which is kind of like insane and like doesn't hold together extremely well in my opinion. And is a little bit like, what are you going for here, Jim? But he's done that a bunch of other times, like with Hey Cinderella and things like that.
Yeah, it's like, here's the thing I've been working for so long. There it is, and everyone's like, cool, that's all right.
Or like his nightclub. It's just like, why are you spending so much time thinking about this? Yeah.
But a few other things that happened during this same time period in February 1978, on February 7th. There is the Variety Club Awards, which apparently was a really big deal. I had never heard of them. But the Muppet Show was honored in the 1978 broadcast. And Frank Oz and Fozzie appeared to accept the award.
Oh, that's nice. Is it Variety, like the Variety magazine?
I don't think so. It was like some weird club that just decided to like give out awards, sort of like the Hollywood Foreign Press Association gives out the Golden Globes.
Right.
And it seemed like a big deal at the time, but I don't know if it's still a thing. Also during this time, on February 13th, 1978, Big Bird and Oscar once again appeared on the Hollywood Squares. Could not find that one, but it's probably pretty similar to the last time they were on the Hollywood Squares.
So just a few weeks later, basically, he was on again?
Yeah, they filmed a lot of these like in batches, so I'm assuming that he was there for maybe 1 or 2 days filming, and then they just like spread them out over months. But on February 14th, 1978, there was a variety special that aired on NBC called I Love You, in which celebrities offered different perspectives on love. And some of those celebrities included Mortimer Snerd and Edgar Bergen.
Oh, boy.
Which I'm sure was, Mortimer Snerd's opinions on love, I'm sure, are great and hold up amazingly.
Really well, yeah.
But yeah, this apparently included comedy spots, musical numbers, and Big Bird and Oscar were there amongst the celebrities.
But it's no longer with us. It's been lost to
the
void. Okay.
We gotta wait for somebody to find a tape in a back room and upload it on YouTube again.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that they did during this time, which again they probably filmed at the same time as the previous one, was on February 20th, 1978, they did another appearance of Big Bird and Oscar on the Hollywood Squares that we cannot find to watch.
It said in the notes also that they filmed the Bob Hope episode and their segment on the Bob Hope Christmas Spectacular or whatever that we watched last time during filming his episode. Because it's the same background and everything. They didn't really try to hide it.
Nope, not at all. I mean, it seems convenient for a man who is so busy. So diving into these Muppet Show episodes. First up, we have the Elton John episode that aired on February 6th, 1978 in New York. He will also go on to appear in the Lady Gaga and the Muppets Holiday Spectacular.
Oh, I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a while till we get to watch that, but we will get to see that. And apparently also in Kermit's book, Before You Leap, he says that his mother booked Elton John into the local theater, the Bayou Bijou, and while there, she introduced Elton John to the crocodile that inspired Crocodile Rock.
Oh, that's nice. Kermit's mom?
Yeah.
Oh, do we meet Kermit's mom in Kermit Swamp Years?
I've never seen Kermit Swamp Years, so I don't actually know the answer to that question.
Okay.
But yeah, first thoughts about this episode. It's really, really fun and really enjoyable, but I don't think it's a great representation of a Muppet Show episode. It's weird that I have essentially the same issues with this episode that I do with the Judy Collins episode, but I enjoy this episode so much more. And it's partially because we've talked about this multiple times. When you bring in a musician, a dancer, whoever, and you just have them do the thing they do with very little twists on that, it's kind of like, okay, why are they here? Why are they working with the Muppets? They could just do their own concert special and do this exact same thing.
It's kind of like an ad for them almost, yeah.
Yeah, I think what happens here is that Elton John is so good and so charismatic that these things, like every musical number is a classic song that you have memories of, and so you're watching, you're like, hell yeah, Benny and the Jets, this is amazing, as opposed to like Judy Collins singing like there was an old lady that swallowed a fly. You're like, okay, whatever.
That's a good point.
So yeah, like it's clear that Elton John came to sing and not do any real sketches because he doesn't do anything that doesn't involve him singing one of his own songs.
He's got like 2 lines that are not sung.
So I feel like, yeah, like it's not a great representation of what an average Muppet Show episode is, because I think those best ones are the ones like a Dom DeLuise or somebody like that who get involved in the sketches and actually do something beyond what they're known for.
It's also really messy. There's not really a backstage plot. It jumps around a lot in that regard. The skits otherwise are not the most memorable. Is this the one where the chickens laying ping pong ball eggs? Yeah. But I do like I think the Crocodile Rock one and the Miss Piggy one are great Muppet Show skits that couldn't have happened if you weren't working with the Muppets.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is one of those episodes that's a very easy one to put on and rewatch because it is so fun and there's no like really bad parts of it. It's just weird that we get like a Swedish Chef, we get a veterinarian's hospital, and like we get a Pigs in Space, but we don't get like another sketch. That's not one of those traditional Muppet Show ones. We don't get like Elton John at the travel agent or whatever.
Yeah, they don't do that as much as they used to do that, really.
But they usually try to incorporate like the guests into something.
Yeah.
Or like playing a character that's not just themselves.
Yeah. I guess if you were really in the Muppet Show audience and Elton John was like doing a skit, you maybe would be like, why aren't you just singing a song?
But yeah, you mentioned the Crocodile Rock number, and I think, like we're starting off on a very strong note there because that is the most Muppety of his musical performances. You got crocodiles, you got a rock, boom, nailed it.
And he got a great outfit on.
Oh yeah.
And it's like a nice. I like that he has the mayhem with it, like the Electric Mayhem with him every time too, and that he's not playing with some like made up band. Like maybe he would have been in season 1, maybe playing with some made up band or something. But I like that it seems like they love Elton John and they're like excited to work with him as much as possible.
Yeah, I wonder if like what maybe could have, I don't know, like added just like a slight twist to something is if he had done like a number with the Jug Band and like made a country version of one of his songs or something. Like
that would have been cool.
Prince essentially does that on Muppets Tonight later on, where he like does like a hee haw parody, and it's like you get to see Prince playing like a country gentleman singing a country version of one of his songs, and I'm like, yeah, if we had seen like Elton John team up with the Jug Band and not just the Electric Mayhem the whole time, it maybe would have just like added a slightly more interesting like tint to one of his numbers.
Also, this probably isn't how they do UK spots. I bet they just film those all like in a chunk or something. But it would have been cool maybe if he had sung like an old British song for the UK spot. That would have been funny.
We also you mentioned in your summary that Scooter has another My Uncle Owns the Theater. I think this is his most half-assed attempt at
it really is,
trying to sell that, because it doesn't even seem like he's really trying to use it, and somehow Kermit still falls for it, and I don't understand why this one works after all the other ones we've seen. But it works like a charm in this one.
Kermit just is scared. He's scared of Scooter at this point. He's powerless. But I think it's so... Well, we're going to skip the Swedish Chef, but I think it's so stupid that the song he's pitching him is an Elton John song. What was he going for there?
But it also, like, isn't... Like their performance of it, like we get these Muppets back in Elton John's dressing room starting to sing a song, and it does sound bad. I agree with Kermit. Their version of what they're trying to sing sounds terrible. But it turns out it is supposed to be Benny and the Jets that they are performing. And so obviously Elton John's like, well, the song doesn't have to sound bad. Listen to this. And he sings Benny and the Jets.
Well, yeah, but what was Scooter's end game there?
I don't know. Hey, Elton John, listen to this song. You wrote it.
Yeah, and then what Elton John would have been like, that song's genius, and not realized he wrote it.
Maybe they could like retcon it as like, this is the time when Benny and the Jets came to Elton John. He heard a lowly little Muppet sing this song and was like, I'm going to steal that.
Yeah. Or like Back to the Future when like Scooter goes back in time and plays Benny and the Jets.
Yeah.
And it's like, Elton, this is your cousin, Rupert. Rupert John.
I met a little boy named Scooter.
Yeah, I met a boy named Scooter with a stupid song. Listen to this. But this is when you see my new favorite Muppet, the Afghan Hound. This is when I first saw her and thought, this is Rolf's wife in my head.
I like that theory. We did skip over the Swedish Chef bit, which I don't want to ignore because it leads to a running gag throughout this whole episode, which is that the chef is trying to get the chicken to lay some eggs. The chicken says no and lays some ping pong balls instead. And so the chef is going to eat the chicken, but the chicken decides to get its revenge, and they chase each other around for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. And this initial Swedish Chef sketch goes on for too long, I would say. I don't care for it.
We then get a veterinarian's hospital that is all dog puns, with Baskerville being the one on the table.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite jokes was talking about a woman and her dog, and I think Piggy says, Doberman Pinscher, and Rolf says, no, Doberman Bitter.
I have that written down with a little star next to it as well, because I laughed very hard at that part.
Yeah, no, it was a very, very good veterinarian's hospital.
Yeah, when veterinarian's hospital hits, it's like the only good running Muppet Show sketch, I would say. Yeah,
and like the most consistent. And I think there are obviously a few we've talked about that don't do as well, but the ones that do, even when you can kind of sense every single joke they're gonna say, it still works. Like you're like, yeah, I know what every payoff to this is gonna be, but I'm gonna laugh my way through the entire thing.
That's funner because you get to laugh longer because you know it's about to happen, and then it does happen. Also, Piggy's been huffing the gas every time at the beginning for the last bunch of them. They need to get some new props for her.
Or get her some help. We get an extremely British UK spot where
Couldn't make
Fozzie is
heads or
back in
tails of
his
this one.
little outfit that you told me about that I can't remember what they were.
The Pearlies or something like that.
Yeah, he's back in his Pearlies outfit. They have a couple of background Muppets singing with them, and one of which is just straight up missing a pupil.
Yeah, I thought it was a shine on it. I was trying to figure that out as well.
Yeah, there's a glare a couple times, and so you think it's just like, oh, you can't see it. But like, no, you get a better look, and he just is missing one of his pupils. So I'm just like, I don't know how much they cared about these UK spots, because obviously they're only doing them because in the UK, the shows had to be 2 minutes longer than they were in the US. But yeah, no one noticed that this puppet was missing an eye?
Huh. Well, on Muppet Wiki, it says that there was only time for one take of this. So I don't know. I guess I'm so used to filming stuff and being able to look at like a screen and see what's being filmed. But maybe back then it was harder to like. But you're fucking right there. They probably could have seen.
Well,
this,
and notoriously, they are watching monitors the entire time they are performing to get their framing right.
Yeah.
So, like, who's ever performing Purple Guy should be looking in a monitor and go, hey, I think my puppet is missing a pupil.
Okay, but maybe they were, and maybe they were sweating bullets. Like, I know we only have time for one take. Oh,
yeah,
shit,
like
what do do?
I can't tell Jim that we have to do that again. Yeah, because he does show up later on, and he does have his pupil back. So it wasn't like a purposeful choice to like have a Muppet without a pupil.
Right.
But yeah, they sing an old song called Any Old Iron that, as you said, I could not make any sense of what it was about or what they were doing, but it felt very British.
I think it's about a watch chain or something.
Cool.
Who knows?
It's a 1911 song is what I looked up.
There weren't very many things to write songs about back then.
Next, we get another Elton John musical number where he's performing Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. This one's the pretty straightforward one with the Electric Mayhem. The only thing I really noted in this is that Animal's fake drumming is worse than it's ever been. His hands are like below the tops of the drums.
Oh, no.
And at no point in this when they're showing Animal does it look like he's actually hitting the drums at all.
I wonder what's going on there.
I don't know if like maybe that stand is just too tall for them to like effectively raise Animal's arms up above the drums. But anytime like I'm watching this bit, like you can just see Animal's hands are like level with the side of the drums as he's like pretending to hit them. And I'm like, in no world is he making any of those noises.
Maybe Frank Oz was just like distracted by the fact that he was playing with Elton John.
I don't feel like Frank Oz is like somebody who would care about celebrity very much. That's the read I get on him is that he'd be like, yeah, cool, whatever the fuck, it's Elton John.
That's true. And he'd say something rude to Elton John, and Elton John would remember it like 20 years later and be like, oh yeah, he said a really fucked up thing to me.
Although from what I have heard is that from what I was reading on like Muppet Wiki, Elton John is still a very big fan of the Muppets, and he even like went to the Muppets at the Bowl concert that they did at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, they're a good fit for each other.
Yeah.
He seems like maybe if he had his druthers, he would play with the Muppet Band all the time.
And this is one too where like we get to see multiple characters dressing up to sort of match his vibe, and I think it's one where that works both ways. That like the Muppets clearly enjoy Elton John, get to dress like Elton John, and it makes sense for them.
Except Zoot, he will not change his outfit. He will wear his dirty poncho, and that's all he will ever wear. I like how much Scooter loves Elton John, though.
Oh,
He gets to do the introduction for this, and he does kind of like a Kermit. Yay!
I mean, he's a young, whatever 14-year-old he's supposed to be. Like, he is like peak Elton John demographic at this point.
Yeah, it's very cute. I like to think of all those people, like the Afghan Hound and all the people singing with him and Benny and the Jets. They're like his friends from school. And he is like, hey, you guys should come to work with me today.
I like that idea a lot. That he's like, not only is he getting to bring his song, which is just Benny and the Jets, to Elton John, but he's also being like, hey, Kermit, can I bring my friends in? Well, my uncle does them in the theater. He's like, fine, God damn it.
And he brings like 12 people with him.
Yeah. Next, we got a Pigs in Space that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, I like this one too. Because they're not being really mean to each other. Well, they are, but not in a sexist way.
Yeah. It turns out they're just bored. They're just kind of sitting back in their spaceship, waiting for something to happen. And then a red light starts going off, which means there's 2 alien life forms aboard. The 2 alien life forms turn out to be the Swedish chef and the chicken, continuing the running gag from earlier.
And then they run through, and then the crew of pigs in space is bored again.
Yeah.
I like this one because it felt like it had the kind of theme that Jim Henson would have done in like the 60s, where it's like, time's just ticking away and we're all going to die someday. It had that vibe to me.
Yeah, this is a bit of Jim Henson coming out through Link Hogthrob.
It's a similar voice, I guess, to what he'd use when he was doing like the big face that would talk in front of like the multimedia slideshow of all this stuff happening. I can't remember what that guy's name was.
Like Limbo or something like
Limbo,
that was the name of that
yeah.
sketch. Yeah.
A very Limbo-ish sketch.
Yeah. We then get a little history lesson for Sam the Eagle here. Sam is pissed at Elton John's choice of clothing. He is he is mad at that Elton John would dress the way he does, and then Kermit informs him that actually Mozart used to wear wigs and tights and high heels, and he's like, never would I imagine that Mozart would wear. And very, very luckily, at the same time,
Yeah.
Scooter walks in and reveals that Elton John gifted him a picture of Mozart.
Amazing.
Which,
What a natural thing for Elton John to give to Scooter.
yeah. Oh, thank you for my new song, Benny and the Jets, Scooter. Here's a painting of Mozart I brought with me, just in case something like this happened.
And I'll be damned, he is wearing high heels and tights and a powdered wig. And you know what? Sam would look good in a powdered wig. And he wears one a bunch of other times in the future, I think.
At least in Muppet's Christmas Carol, he is wearing one. But this does lead to Sam losing the bet about Mozart's fashion, which Kermit knew he was going to win, obviously. And so Sam has to introduce Elton John and dress like Elton John in the most Uncle Sam the Eagle kind of way imaginable.
He looks cool, too.
Yeah, and he also had to, part of the bet was like, I'll eat my hat if Mozart did that. And so he literally takes a bite out of his hat at the end of that as well.
He's got like a sequiny Uncle Sam hat, a big collar, red, white, and blue. He looks great.
And then we get the number you mentioned earlier where Miss Piggy and Elton John perform Don't Go Breaking My Heart together.
Yeah, when he said there's somebody I've always wanted to perform with, I got so excited because I knew it was going to be Miss Piggy.
That seems like everyone, like every celebrity they bring on, they're like, who do you want to perform with? They're like, obviously Miss Piggy. She's the greatest.
Yeah, she's the best Muppet,
Yeah.
so that's why. I don't know what I like so much about... There's not an interesting way to describe what I like so much about this, except that it's just a great showcase of like how good Frank Oz is and how funny it is when Piggy sings and how good of an improv person Frank Oz is. It's like a Frank Oz showcase.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And I think when Piggy gets to like let loose a little bit more than she normally does in sketches, I think we get to see peak Frank Oz.
Yeah, when she gets to be herself and no one's there being rude to her.
Yeah,
gets to
when
be
she's
her
not the
best
butt of the
self.
joke and she gets to just be her full-on like diva performing self. This does continue Miss Piggy's trend, though, of being attracted to men who would not be attracted to her.
Yeah, there's a little hint of that at the very beginning where she's like, oh, he's marvelous. This felt like more like they were just playing it for the crowd. I think she might know the score.
Yeah, but she gives a lot of kisses to his chest.
Yeah, but you know, it's for the show.
His very hairy, sweatery looking chest.
It is a nasty looking. It's a good thing her lips are not real because those would be weird kisses.
I do love that there's a couple times in that number where Elton John is like trying to match Piggy's energy, and so he does like a little Piggy voice at one point where he like grunts back at
Yeah.
her like, "Arr!" And it's very good.
Yeah.
It's like those moments where you can tell, like, obviously some of the musical numbers get to be like lip synced because they have to be, so they don't have to do like a thousand takes of trying to get the song right. But those
Right.
little moments where you're like, okay, he got to improv a little bit here.
Yeah. It does seem like he was singing to me in all of these. I don't know if that's really the case, but
Yeah, I don't know. I know some musicians are pickier about lip syncing versus not. And I mean, yes, I agree that like it may have been lip synced because they would pre-record a lot of these, but if it was, he was doing a very good job of convincingly lip syncing.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, one detail I liked in Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is that since Dr. Teeth is the piano player, he is there, but he's in the back like messing with dials and stuff. He's like messing with the mix. I like that.
Yeah, he's like, this is not my spot, not my place to play the keyboards. And yeah, this episode wraps up with everyone dressing up to match Elton John's style, and he comes out in a very plain, boring suit.
I didn't really get the "we look like stolen cars" thing.
I
Why
didn't
does
really get
stolen
that
cars look
either.
like that?
Yeah, I don't know, because Sam the Eagle references that earlier, that Elton John dresses like a stolen car, and then later on Elton John tells the Muppets that they look like they're dressed like stolen cars, and I don't know why a stolen car would be more flamboyant than others.
No, you think you'd want it to be less flamboyant.
I mean, that theory is proven wrong in the Muppet movie, but that hasn't come out yet.
Oh yeah, that's true.
When they're trying to hide and blend in, they paint their car like an Elton John outfit, essentially.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I don't feel like there's a lot of like hard-hitting analysis to give this episode. It's just, like we said, Elton John singing a bunch. It's like an Elton John music video that's 30 minutes long.
Yeah, which is great. It's fun. It's like, I've been listening to a lot more Elton John this week than I had previously because it's just been stuck in my head.
He's so freaking good.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll get to it, obviously, in my non-Muppet thing of the week, but I had to watch the movie Rocket Man this week because I was like, I haven't seen that yet, and Elton John is like just in my brain now.
Right. I know what you're talking about. I've wanted to see that too. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for now, we're moving on to February 13th, 1978. This is the Bob Hope episode, kinda. He's not there for a lot of it. One little fun note learned on Muppet Wiki about Bob Hope. He first met Kermit the Frog back in the late 50s for the first time. He posed for a newspaper photo with Kermit and Paul Arnold. Paul Arnold was the host of Footlight Theater, which is like the very first thing, along with like Sam and Friends, that the Muppets were doing. They were like airing at the same time. So apparently somewhere out there is a newspaper photo of Bob Hope and Kermit and Paul Arnold from the late 50s.
Kermit, who was like 1 year old at that point.
Yeah, this was very, very young, very not frog yet Kermit.
Huh.
But yeah, the conceit of this episode is that Bob Hope is so busy that he cannot be there, even though weirdly he is there getting ready in the dressing room at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell if he is it a joke? Was he actually so busy that he could only be there for like 15 minutes, so they just did the best they could? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing. And also I feel like you could have just done like the Rudolph Nureyev thing where he's not there in his dressing room at the beginning and he shows up late, as opposed to we see him at the very beginning of this episode, and then when they go to introduce him for his thing, he has now left. So it's like he showed up, got ready, and was like, oh, by the way, I need to go.
Yeah, it's really weird. And it seems kind of like he comes across as very rude in this episode.
Yes, he comes across as someone who does not want to be hanging out with the Muppets. Like the Muppets are the lowest thing on his priority list right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to see that Animal is maybe a big fan of Bob Hope. He's at least
he doesn't know who he is, though.
No, but he's very excited by the idea of Bob Hope.
Yeah.
And so excited that this is where the backstage plot comes in this episode, because Kermit tells him to go get a hobby. Which
backstage plot, very loose, very charitable way to call that. But
yes, that is true. We get a few key moments of Animal trying out some different hobbies. But first, we have the Calypso number that Sam referenced earlier that is just kind of strange.
Yeah, it's not. The tone is just totally off compared to what other Muppet Show stuff we've seen so far. It's like more kid-like or something like that.
It's a very weird thing to think about when you think about like the fact that this is a show that they are producing, because obviously Kermit's lines are written as a song. And so this whole idea was something they like had to have a meeting about, of like, okay, so our first number is going to be you singing about how much you love me. And then I'm going to come out and I'm going to sing about how much I don't love you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. She wrote the song and added a line about him hating her or something like that. Who knows how it happened?
Yeah.
Their creative partnership is a mystery.
But after this, we get the first sign of Animal trying out a hobby, and this one's alligator wrestling, which leads to a great visual of just the animal puppet, like basically tied to an alligator puppet, holding its mouth open and just like writhing around the set.
Yeah, that was cool. I thought, they're like looking down the staircase at him at first, and I thought he was going to be dog fighting.
I was also,
more grim.
Honestly, that's exactly where my head was like cockfighting, dog fights, something, because it did seem like they were like watching the back alley of like whatever Animal's new hobby is, and I was like, oh, no.
Animal would completely destroy a dog in a fight, I think.
Oh, you're picturing him as fighting the dog, not making two dogs fight.
Oh, you're picturing him as gambling on dog fighting? That would be even better. He becomes like a crime lord.
Now I'm just picturing him and Rolf like knocking each other out in a back alley.
Oh. Rolf would know better than to get in that situation.
Yeah, I would not
Unless
put my
he was
money on
drunk.
Rolf.
I think if he was drunk,
Ooh, I could see
he would
drunk
pick
Rolf
a fight with the animal.
being like, "You think you're so great?"
Yeah. I used to be somebody.
Jim and Frankie get to like get some of their hostilities out at each other.
Yeah.
I
Look,
used to
fist
hang out
fight.
with Jimmy Dean, and now people
Yeah.
are putting you on all the T-shirts.
A fist fight where each of your fists was a different person. That would be a tough fist fight.
Yeah, whoever is now Rolf's right hand punching Frank Oz's hand, as Frank Oz used to be the right hand of Rolf. There's a
Yeah.
lot of very poetic moments there. If somebody
And
wants to
the
do
animal
fan
doesn't-
art of a boxing match, a bare-knuckle boxing match between Rolf and Animal. But next we get the first sign that Bob Hope really doesn't want to be here. Not only did Fozzie already let us know that he's not there currently, but Kermit goes to introduce him, and Fozzie gets to be really cute and peek his head out from behind the curtain and just be like,
He is
hey,
really cute.
you need to stall because he's not here yet. And then at a certain point, once he's stalling, Fozzie just tries to take Kermit's lunch order, which is real cute.
Yeah. And to me, another sign that Bob Hope doesn't want to be there. Once he actually shows up, they're in front of the curtain that they will use, like I said, to film the holiday special. So it seems like Bob Hope was just on stage and he was like, let's just get this shit out of the way.
Yeah,
Get
let's
up
just
here."
do like 5 of these things. You can put them wherever you want. I got 10
Yeah.
minutes. And also, like, in character in this moment, he's trying to leave. He comes
Yes.
out. He's like, Kermit, I had a great time. It's time for me to go. And Kermit's like, you didn't do anything.
I did think that was pretty funny.
Yeah. But we then have the very weird, for what it's worth, number, where a bunch of like Emmett Otter extras, including like the possum and the fox and the rabbit and stuff, are singing the Buffalo Springfield song, which is traditionally a very popular protest song. And here has been rewritten in a lot of the verses to be more aimed at the hunter hillbilly characters, which one of them is played by George the janitor.
It's George, yeah. He's falling on hard times.
Yeah, well, he's hanging out with his friends.
That's true. That's true.
Interestingly, this segment provoked an article in Field and Stream.
Oh, of course it did.
Yeah. Apparently, a writer expressed his displeasure, but only speaks in passing of the Muppet Animals, which he says they are singing a once popular rock song. And his,
How old this song at this point? How old is
it had
it?
been like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah, okay.
But it's obviously like, I think it's still pretty popular at this point and continues to be popular to this day.
It probably plays 80 times on every radio station in the entire country every week or something.
But it
Yeah,
mostly
shut
seemed
up.
like he had a problem with the hunters being like bad hunters. His
Like
concern,
not having good trigger control or whatever.
yeah, he's concerned with the Muppet Hunters. He said, including the joke in which they brag about hitting vehicles. And when the program ended a few minutes later with a deranged fuzzball screaming bunny rabbit," and shooting the hell out of everything, I was about ready to boot the tube.
Boot the tube.
So I think his main issue was with like the use of firearms being irresponsible and the people who use them being seen as like not very stable.
Well, okay. That's every cartoon and tons of Muppets.
Oh, I'm sure he has written a similar article about Elmer Fudd. I would not be surprised.
I'd like to know what British people thought of this. They were probably just like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, as all Americans. These and their jug bands and their shooting motorcycles. We then get a continuation of some more gun use and hunting. The Muppet News Flash prepares that it's the opening day of fishing season, and then we hear some fish get shot out of the sky.
Yeah. All
Which,
right.
it's fine.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's just as good and bad as every other Muppet News Flash.
And then right after that, Bob Hope gets shot out of a cannon. We don't actually see that. We hear it, and then he walks in from off stage like, hey, the guy shot out of a cannon.
I didn't actually so he was going to a benefit for the Flying Zucchini Brothers? Is that what he was doing at first?
I think so, because they were the ones that were sending him back from the benefit.
Right.
Um,
Was one of them sick or something? What are they doing?
Yeah, Todd Zucchini needed surgery, and they're
Yeah.
like, we're gonna have a benefit. We can get Bob Hope.
No offense to Bob Hope, but I feel like I could do Bob Hope's job. I don't really know I don't know what his appeal is exactly.
I think he's a man from a very specific time, where it was a little bit easier to like do what he's doing in his shtick, and it was like a very novel idea where people were like, "Oh my god, no one's ever said anything that funny."
Back when you could walk into a radio station and just like walk into the booth and be like, "I have an idea for a joke."
All right,
It's
you're
called,
here.
How did the chicken cross the road? And it goes a little something like this.
Speaking of chickens, we next get the Swedish chef trying to cook a duck.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of similar, right?
Like, yeah, I mean, yeah. In terms of how animals look like, they almost look exactly the same. If you were an alien and looked at two of them, you'd be like, they could be.
This continues the trend of, I just love when Muppets get hit on the head and get knocked out because
He's dead.
he gets hit in the head with an iron that the duck drops on his head, and he just falls
That
dead
really
on this
creams
counter.
him. Yeah.
Speaking of things falling, in the next little segment here, we get the first of what I was referring to earlier with the troublesome, somewhat alarming images in this episode.
Yes.
The Muppet News Flash says that it's also the opening of opera season, and an opera singer gets shot out of the sky and falls dead on his news desk.
Thunks onto his desk, just her floppy Muppet dead body.
Yeah. So that was number one. There's like, I think 4 alarming images total in this episode.
Oh, interesting.
That's number one, where I was just like, what the hell? That's just a dead body that fell out of the sky. They shot a woman.
This is the second confirmed actual dead Muppet we've seen. The first one was the dead one at Veterinarian's Hospital, who was just dead.
We also there was a frog that got eaten by a crocodile in an episode that did not
never
come back
came
out.
back.
Yeah.
That's
So we've got a
true.
few confirmed Muppet deaths.
A body count of 3 for the Muppets so far.
Next, we have a weird little Rolf number that doesn't really go anywhere. He just starts playing a Beethoven number, and Scooter says, "Hey, play faster," and he ends the song.
No, I thought this one was funny because he's playing a Beethoven thing. Scooter's like, "We're running long. You gotta stop." And then he goes, "Da da 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 da." You know, it was funny. I liked it.
Yeah, I think it like serves the same purpose as some of those like animal drum solo things where we just get a short little bit to fill in some time between sketches.
But it makes a little bit more sense than some of those animal ones.
Yes. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
No, I hated this.
There's a UK spot in this episode. And again, we've talked about the UK spots because they're just basically time filler. But they've been like, charming at times.
They haven't all been British songs like we were worried about.
No, they've definitely switched that up a bit. But this one is maybe one of the weirdest ones we've seen so far.
Uh-huh.
There is just a group of Muppets, which includes like Fozzie, Floyd, the Afghan Hound, Miss Piggy, Kermit, Gonzo, Robin, and
It is like all the most famous Muppets and the Afghan Hound and the person you're about to say.
And J.P. Gross, who is Scooter's uncle who owns the theater. It makes it look like they're at J.P. Gross's house, just like entertaining him by singing medleys in front of a fireplace.
Yeah. It's like a Muppet Family Christmas type situation, except with the most unpleasant Muppet of all Muppets leading the affair.
It's like this feels like this takes place like after they filmed the episode that day, and he was like, "All right, everyone's coming back to my place for drinks and songs," and they're like, "Well, we don't really want to do that, JP." He's like, "I own the theater," and they're like, "Fine, we have to go entertain this guy." And so it reminds me, there's some Dick Van Dyke episodes where Dick Van Dyke plays a TV writer who's a funny guy, and all of his friends know him as a funny guy, and so people will invite him over to dinner parties because they know he will sing a song or do something entertaining for them, and he resents that at points. And I feel like this is what this feels like to me, a little bit of like J.P. Gross just like forced the Muppets to come over and be like, sing me some music.
I guess I didn't even think about it that hard. To me, it just seemed like a really lazy choice to have him be the person in that lead seat. I don't know who you
I think you are reading this correctly, and that the reason it was done that way is because they were just like, I don't know, put J.P. Gross in there.
He just looks like some random guy. We'll just have him.
Yeah. I was trying to give it any sort of logic, and I don't think there is any to get. But it is a very, very weird number that seems like it should be charming or like heartfelt, but it just comes across very strange.
Trying to figure out if this was somehow like his first appearance or something, and they didn't even know who he was yet.
No, this was a late season 2 production order.
Well then,
there's no excuse, Sam. There's no logic or excuse to be found here. J.P. Gross is just a weird man they shoved in front of a fireplace and said, "Sing some songs."
Yuck! I hated it.
Yeah. Next, we had a Muppet Labs charming little thing with Beaker and Bunsen and an automated wastebasket, which is a fun little puppet with an insatiable appetite who tries to eat Beaker at the end.
Yeah, yep. And seems to successfully do so.
Yeah, but that's just it's a kind of a short one, kind of not too much happens, but the little puppet there is pretty cute.
Yeah, I like the end when Bunsen's like, send us $23 and we'll send you a wastebasket, and send us $32 and we won't.
Yeah. No, that's a very, like, I don't know, that felt like a very, like, timeless Muppet kind of joke. Next, we get the first hint that there is a cowboy sketch coming. Kermit, again, tricks a guest into doing something sort of against their will. But Bob Hope is, he's here and he's ready to perform. But Kermit says, well, you can't do your funny jokes. I need you to do a cowboy sketch. But yeah, before we actually get to the cowboy sketch, we have a couple more things. First, I think this is the second alarming image of the episode. Animal has taken up overhand bowling. And is just chucking bowling balls at the backstage crew. And Scooter gets absolutely destroyed.
Yes, fully in the core of his body.
Yes, he would be dead.
His heart stopped.
If
yes.
Scooter was a living being and that was a real bowling ball, Scooter would have just been killed by Animal.
Right in the center mass, his ribs collapsed.
Yeah. But he
And
thankfully does.
That's not so funny anymore, is it, Animal?
He thankfully does. Scooter does pop back up after he has been destroyed by a bowling ball, so he seems to be fine.
Yeah, I'd say canonically the Muppets do not have bones of any sort or internal organs. I don't think.
No, they're often twisted into many weird shapes that I
Yeah.
think bones would render impossible.
Do you think if you're at the Muppet Show and Bunsen and Beaker are doing the Muppet Labs, that you can go out after the show and buy the thing that they advertised? Are they like buying ad space in the Muppet Show? What's their deal?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel
I
like
bet you could go buy the hair remover after the show's over. You get the hair growth formula.
Like
or
you can
whatever.
pick it up
They're
in the
just like
lobby?
they're like in a booth in the lobby, and they're like, would you like this?
I could see that. I don't know that they're gonna make it out of the lobby. I don't know that they're gonna put their products on store shelves, but I feel like they
No.
could at least try to sell them to make it worth it. That they
No, they
spent
don't-
money
they-
on it.
They're circumventing FDA approval and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't even know that Dr. Bunsen Honeydew is a real doctor.
It's not great. We should look into that.
Next, we get the third alarming imagery of the episode. Rolf is back playing a little piano number, and it seems pretty innocuous. It seems like he's just playing like he was earlier. But in this one, it's a very complicated piano number, and so he grows a third arm to finish playing the song. And suddenly, we realize that Rolf and Stitch from Lilo and Stitch maybe share some DNA, because he
they
just...
could be the same species.
Yeah. This is maybe an earlier experiment than old 626. And Rolf apparently has some hidden arms he can just pop out when necessary. Were you as shocked by Rolf's third arm as I was?
No, it didn't disturb me. Rolf can do whatever he wants. He can do no wrong in my book. He can be body horror, and that's still cute.
I think this is the first thing Rolf has done that I've just been questioning a little bit. Of this raises a lot of questions about Rolf as a character.
Has he always been able to do this? Is this a new mutation? Who knows?
Has he just been hiding that third arm this whole time?
Yeah. Well, he's got that. No, okay. This is not the first scary thing he's ever done. The first scary thing he ever did was be huge in those IBM commercials.
Oh yeah, we do see
Remember that?
his giant conical body
That
as he's
was
walking
much
up the
more
stairs.
unsettling. Yes,
That's true.
He is an amorphous blob underneath the camera.
He's sort of like an
So-
amoeba. Everything below
Yeah.
Rolf's head is just amoeba-like and can grow
Yeah.
arms at will.
And like we said, he has no bones or internal organs, so he can kind of just do whatever he wants down there.
All right, I'll take that.
He's the scariest Muppet now.
Next, we have a very not scary Muppet, a very cute new Muppet.
He's so cool.
It is a horse who later on will become known as Paul Revere. He is just a big orange horse who wears some New Balance sneakers and socks.
Yeah, he really does. I loved his New Balances.
Yeah.
Is that the only kind of sneaker you can buy in England or something? Why is he
I
wearing
don't
New
think
Balances?
so.
Okay.
But yeah, according to some backstage information from Muppets and Men, the horse's head and voice were performed by Jerry Nelson, and the legs are performed by Richard Hunt and Dave Goles. And
How did they do it? Are
So-
they just on sticks?
yeah, so the torso and the saddle are stationary and are attached to a blue screen wall, and then The puppeteers are just behind that wall, like reaching over and controlling things with sticks and stuff. But yeah, so the torso and saddle had to be stationary so that Bob Hope could actually like sit on it. And then the entire puppet was like against that backdrop to create the illusion here of him walking around.
There's so many pictures of this. That's so weird.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things of like when Bob Hope is on the Muppet Show, you get a lot of photographers there to probably document that.
You get a camera crew in there to film. This horse reminded me of Cheezosaurus Rex, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to eat him. He looks like he's made out of pure American cheese. He looks delicious.
But yeah, this is the cowboy number, the cowboy sketch. And yeah, they're singing Don't Fence Me In. It's kind of I don't know. I didn't love it, but it's all right.
Oh, I loved it.
Really?
I thought they had a really good, they're tete-a-tete, is that what you call it? They're back and forth. I thought it was fantastic. They were a great comedy duo. I'd watch a whole movie of Bob Hope and this horse going on Western adventures and being rude to each other.
Well, now I do want that. Now that you say it like that, I would like to see a series or a movie or something of Bob Hope and Paul Revere.
And this, just a horse wearing 4 sneakers with really high socks.
Yeah.
I think is just the only thing you need in this whole sketch, basically. You could just see that, a stationary image of that, and be like, aha, great job, Jim. This sketch is so good that it kind of made my bad feelings about the rest of Bob Hope's appearances on this go away, because it was kind of like, oh, he's just joking. He was there. He was invested in it. They just wrote it so that he seemed like he wasn't. But they did too good a job, because it really does seem like he's like, fuck this, I'm out.
I found some extra photos on Muppet Wiki of how they would do Paul Revere's legs. And basically the answer is very uncomfortably for Louise Gold and Dave Goelz, at least in this picture.
They're like lying underneath him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They're lying on the ground underneath his feet. So they're like controlling his feet from underneath with rods. But yes, I somewhat agree with you about this making up for it, but because I didn't love this sketch as much as you did, it didn't quite balance out with the other Bob Hope stuff. So I think overall I enjoy this episode, but Bob Hope as a guest I was not impressed by.
Right. No, I wasn't really in particular either. He just doesn't he doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth.
Well, because everything he does is just come out and say, I don't have time for this. I have to go.
Yeah.
But the end of the show does lead to the number 4 most alarming image of this episode. Animal has given up overhand bowling and is now taking up hunting just to continue with the guns. And he, not only is he hunting, he has a freaking bazooka.
Yeah, that shoots fire out of it, and at one point he does aim it at Bob Hope's face.
Yes, and he is shooting it around at all the Muppets and Bob Hope, and he's just shooting a bazooka wildly in different directions. But next up, on February 20th, 1978, we have the Julie Andrews episode of The Muppet Show. We have, obviously, we've seen her a few times. We've talked about her for entire episodes of this podcast, so we've said a lot about Julie Andrews. And we do still have one special left to watch. In a couple of weeks, Julie Andrews, One Step into Spring. And she will go on to work with the Henson Company again in 2017 on the Netflix series Julie's Green Room.
She just loves these freaking little guys.
Can you blame her?
No.
In the opening number, she has a bunch of monsters that drop in literally on her, including one who is a reupholstered Lothar.
Yeah, that burned my hide.
He looks so bad.
That. He looks like shit.
He's like one of the best Muppets ever as far as designs go. Now they just like covered him in like purple felt and give it like a real bad brown wig.
Like a brown human woman's hair.
Yeah,
That's
like
so
Lothar
weird.
got the Rachel.
He did. Poor Lothar. I hated to see him this way.
Yeah. I guess the Muppet crew didn't necessarily hold the same respect for Lothar as we did.
No.
He was just
I
reused.
could see him maybe getting dinged up or something because he was just raw foam. So
yeah, and they didn't reuse him that much, so they probably just like tossed him in the corner. But this episode opens up with a song from The Sound of Music, The Lonely Goat Herd. And yeah, we get to see Annie Sue pretty prominently featured in this number. She pops up a couple times throughout these episodes, but this is sort of like her most prominent role so far. And Annie
Does she
Sue,
become like a character?
Yeah, she's sort of like Miss Piggy's foil a little bit.
Okay.
Miss Piggy's Wario, if we're going to go back to that
Right.
criteria. But yes, she is played by Louise Gold, so she's like Louise Gold's first sort of main character that she gets to perform.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode with that character in it.
I don't think she like becomes a huge part of it, but she's sort of like an ongoing
Okay.
character that does pop up from time to time.
Huh.
Yeah, I think, again, this is a pretty like joyous number. No real like complaints about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's good.
It had some fun like composition. I liked when she was singing and the goat is far away in the background singing.
Some of the scale in this sketch is a little weird at times. Like when they like get closer to the little like Muppet restaurant, it makes Julie Andrews look like she's like 20 feet tall.
I guess if you're building stuff for Muppet-sized people, it would be small.
Yeah, it's always that
Makes
thing
sense.
where it's like sometimes you have Kermit sitting at a table and he's like eye level with somebody, and then you put him on a stoop on Sesame Street next to Elvis Costello, and he looks like he's like 1 foot tall. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
'Cause-
how tall is Kermit? Is he just like, does he have like 4 booster seats when he's sitting
Yeah,
at a normal
I was
human
gonna
table?
He always has to sit in the little baby thing they got.
Yeah. I think it's especially
Well,
like,
maybe-
when they're walking around and talking to people or sitting at a table next to them where it's like,
That's true.
their torso is not actually that tall.
He does generally come up to like chest height on people if he's walking next to someone.
Right, but if you were actually walking next to Kermit, he would be like down around your like thigh.
Maybe he's got like a personal assistant whose shoulders he always rides on. It's another Muppet. It's like Fozzie down there, and he's just like sitting on his shoulders, and they're strolling around.
This sketch does lead to the running gag of the backstage, where Kermit's going backstage and complimenting all the animals and their good work on this sketch. And then he says, "Way to go, cow!" Because there's a real live cow, just an actual live cow, huge-ass cow, hanging out backstage at the Muppet Show.
Yep. There's also hay on the ground. If you have a cow, do you have to put hay on the ground? Is
I
that
mean, I'm
just
sure there
like
were
a
certain
rule?
concessions they had to make to not make this a horrible experience for that real live cow that they had on the
Is
Muppet
this
Show.
so, like if it poops, it's easier to clean up or something?
Oh, there's
What's the
definitely poop
hay?
on that floor. Yeah, I just love this. Like, reminds me of the little like test they filmed for the Muppet movie, where they like, took
Yeah.
like Kermit and Fozzie and Miss Piggy out to a farm to just like film some tests, and in that you get to see them interacting with real live cows and how chaotic that can be. And so the fact that they were like choosing to do that inside of a studio just seems like. It seems like it went well based on this episode. Like it all works pretty well, but I'm wondering about like behind the scenes of this episode, how smoothly that actually went. And then we get an amazing, I'm gonna editorialize there, performance number from Gonzo, who is deciding to play the bagpipes while sitting on a flagpole until, for some reason, a beaver sneaks in and chews the flagpole until Gonzo falls, like what? I say like something like 11 feet or something down to the ground.
Yeah, 14 feet maybe.
Yeah.
And out the beaver, also later on, they say they don't have any idea how the beaver even got in there. So,
Yeah, Kermit's try to defend himself, like, I don't know how that beaver even got in here. We're so careful with our security. And then Gonzo notices the cow and is like, yeah, sure. But Gonzo doesn't mind too much because he does then flirt with
'Cause he
the cow.
he does love the cow.
Yes, this is, I think if you're creating that origin story, where does Gonzo's love of chickens and other strange animals come from? This episode, along with the previous episode where he's auditioning chickens to dance, is like the key point in that relationship.
He's flip-flopping between chickens and cows in this one like crazy, too.
Mhm.
He can't make up his mind. He loves them all. Imagine if this living cow had become his canonical girlfriend and they had to keep bringing the cow back.
How long do cows live?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good question.
If you have to guess right now, how long does a
Okay.
cow live?
Oh, shit.
Mr. SciShow Tangents.
Well, why does that have anything to do with it? I don't know anything.
You're on a science podcast.
If you don't eat them, they live 11 years.
Ooh, I was going to say
That's
like
my guess.
20.
Oh, really?
Average life
That's too sad.
of a cow. 18 to 22 years.
Ugh, we cut them down in their youngest days. They are only around for like 2 or 3 years, I think, when they're raised for meat. They have so much life ahead of them. But how long does a chicken live? Like 2 years?
5 to 10.
Oh, so he's been through like 3 Camillas at this point, or 4 Camillas or something.
I mean, that's if we're accepting that Gonzo is like aging and is like whatever 50 years old at this point.
And he's only on his second cow in that universe where the cow's his girlfriend.
All right. Anyway, we've talked way too much about animal lifespan. Getting back into this, Rolf then plays the Moonlight Sonata, which conjures up the moon for some reason.
This is another one where you have to know the name of the song to get the joke, and I'm too stupid.
Same. The laugh track loves this. They are laughing their asses off, and I didn't know why.
They have a deep appreciation of classical music that I just don't have.
And then we get a talk spot where we talked about this one a lot earlier, where Robin is getting shot out of a cannon and really enjoying it. And then more and more Muppets start to shoot across the screen because there's a human cannonball. And also, Sweetums and Thog have decided to play badminton with a chicken.
With specifically Gonzo's chicken. That's what he says. Who is it? Is it Camilla?
Well, and it's even weirder because he doesn't really have a chicken yet. He's about to get that in the next scene. So it's a little strange that he is referencing his own chicken at this point.
And if he is dating Camilla, then he's up to no good with this cow.
Yeah. Gonzo could do, maybe him and Camilla have an understanding.
I like a Robin and Scooter pairing as well, which we've had a couple of now.
They make sense together. We get another At the Dance fake-out number like we saw once before with Kermit, where it seems like it's just going to be a straightforward At the Dance and turns into a song.
Another one where the music starts off jazzy, and I was like, this is great new music for At the Dance.
Yeah. You're like, this is kind of the At the Dance music, but it's in a different key or something. And it turns into Gonzo singing the song, Won't Somebody Dance With Me? And it's very sad, and nobody wants to dance with Gonzo.
And I like how it's interspersed with At the Dance jokes, too. I thought that was a nice little touch. But then a chicken with a very womanly figure comes out and dances with him.
Yes, he does finally get someone to dance with him, and it is a chicken. And
a hot chicken.
They twirl very, very fast.
That's all they do, in fact, yeah.
So much so that I was a little worried about Dave Goelz and his probably 2 arms just standing straight up in the air, having to twist around without bumping into anyone or getting too dizzy that he would collapse.
But I really like this. It does seem like their origin story.
Yeah, like this would be
I don't know when Camilla actually shows up, though.
I don't know either. I think it's actually next season. I don't think it's until season 3. But yeah, this is like if you were going to do sort of a flashback montage of moments of Camilla and Gonzo, I think you could cut this in there and make it seem like that's Camilla and get away with that.
The time Camilla had big boobs.
And the next sketch here, we have a very sort of subdued, different kind of Kermit performing with Julie Andrews here. He's in his weird sort of like Sesame Street lovey-dovey mood where he's a little bit more croaky sounding and a little bit more innocent, not the guy who's running the show kind of vibe.
And rubbing all over Julie.
Their hands are intertwined and rubbing a lot throughout this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked about that one already. It's the song for Kermit, the one about him being a tadpole when she was somehow a fish.
Yeah, it is a nice little moment that he used to have a lot and that he will start having a lot in his later years. I feel like Kermit loops back around to being a sweetie, but he's not there right now.
No, we just see the Kermit who's a mean producer who forces his guests to do musical numbers when they don't want to.
Yes, but behind closed doors, when he's with a beautiful woman.
Yeah. It does seem like they could run off together in an episode where it's like, hey, Kermit's not here this week. Where'd he go? It's like, well, he ran off with Julie Andrews, so I guess we have to make the show on our own.
Or like they actually are dating and have always been, and that's why he won't date Miss Piggy. But he can't admit it because she doesn't want the word to get out that she's dating Kermit.
I think she's also married at this point to the Pink Panther man.
That's exactly why. Yeah.
It was interesting. You pointed this out a little bit in your summary that they reference the fact that they have like seen each other a few years ago on a special. We don't get a lot of acknowledgement on the Muppet Show of the Muppets' past or that they would have done anything else in entertainment besides this show.
Kermit has mentioned it a couple other times with other celebrities. I can't think of who, but there was somebody else he said was an old friend of his.
I think Connie Stevens.
Yeah. That's right. And Florence Henderson, I think maybe he mentions it as well.
Yeah, but they like occasionally they will have a reference to like Kermit having seen some of these people before, but it's not very common and also like feels a bit weird when they step outside of the fiction of the Muppet Show, which feels like a scrappy gang of people who just happen to get a show.
Yeah, it does contextualize Kermit weirdly as like a big star, and Rolf as well. Like they were big stars, but now this is what they've been reduced to. Maybe that's why Kermit has such a bad attitude.
He's like, I should be the one out there. I should be the star of this freaking show.
He's doing regional theater now.
Next, we get another Sam the Eagle rant. This one is against conservationists.
Yeah.
And he's very mad that they're taking away the American freedoms of factory workers and coal miners until he realizes that the American bald eagle is one of the endangered animals that they are trying to protect. And his selfish side comes out, and he's like, well, never mind.
Well, selfish. That's rude. You gotta be,
I mean, is it
You
not?
think so?
I think he does not care about these issues. He doesn't think about these issues in any real way until he realizes that it directly affects him, whether it's the nudity or the conservationists. If it doesn't affect him, he is fully against it. And then it affects him, he's like,
good point.
well, sorry, I was wrong.
Good point. He's a hypocrite.
Yes.
I think this was his best one too, because he did the Joe McCarthy, I have in my hand a list, and
Yeah, it almost feels a little bit too much at first. You're just all right, tone it down. People are gonna get the wrong message from the Muppet Show about conservationists. You're kind of convincing right now. And then we get to see the moment where Gonzo comes back to ask out the cow, but the cow has been taken care of. Scooter shipped the cow off, so Gonzo can't ask out the cow, so he decides, you know what, I'll just call it chicken instead. And thus his love of Camilla is born.
Well,
not really.
Except at the end of this episode.
Yeah. And it turns out that the Scooter shipped off the cow to the Swedish chef, who is getting ready to just mutilate that cow and chop it up into all the pieces.
Drawing all the cuts of meat on the cow, and all I could think of was a completely blood-soaked Swedish chef chopping this cow up, just not even hesitating to deliver the pneumatic blow to the cow's head.
If Kermit had been 5 minutes later, he would have walked in to talk to Scooter and be like, "Oh, where's the cow?" And he'd be like, "Oh, I gave him to the Swedish chef." And then the Swedish chef walks in covered in blood.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh no, I'm too late." We then get Julie Andrews singing "I Whistle a Happy Tune" with most of the Muppet monsters, including Timmy Monster, Dog Leon, Mutations, Mean Mama, Sweetums, some Frackles.
A hand hanging out of a coffin.
Yeah. And it seems like they're trying to straight up murder her. But then it turns out that they really just wanted an autograph. They're just being biggest creepers in the world about it. Well, and she also, even once they announce their intentions, is still like, well, I'm sure the police station has a pen. Let's go use their pen. And so she's clearly going to she's going to say, hey, these creepy monsters were stalking me. Please arrest them.
And also throwing me around and picking me up, which is illegal, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you can't pick people up.
No, especially not famous people.
And then, yes, it is revealed at the end of this episode that it was Julie Andrews' cow the whole time. The great mystery is solved.
Do your job and ask Julie Andrews. The only X factor here is that Julie Andrews is in the building. No one, who else would bring the cow? Come on.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You were going to think of well, what's different about this episode and why is there a cow? Yeah. Well, I think the only thing that's different is the Julie Andrews of it all.
So yeah, these were not my favorite 3 episodes, I would say. The Elton John one is good, but I think, as you said, it's good because it's Elton John. It's not good because it's a great Muppet Show episode.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I land on these as well, is these are all around pretty good episodes. Julie Andrews' episode's definitely one I'll rewatch because she's delightful. And I like the cow bit. And the Elton John one is a good one just to put on if you like Elton John music because he plays a bunch of songs. The Bob Hope one, I think, is fine. You can just watch the cowboy sketch and get everything you need to get out of this episode.
Yeah, totally.
And now it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is one of our oldest Muppet friends that we have not yet talked about. And mostly I wanted to talk about him because there's not a lot to say, but his story is interesting. And he has a very similar story to one of the most famous Muppets, Cookie Monster. So today's Muppet of the Week is Beautiful Day Monster, who is blue, kind of toe-shaped. I don't know how you describe what he looks like.
He's got a big nose, right? He's got a big blue nose, a very distinct facial features.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody would see him, people would see him and go, oh, he's a Muppet, and have no idea who he is or that he's one of the oldest Muppets ever, but he just is clearly a Muppet, and he has been around for freaking ever.
Yeah, and his look has changed a bit through the years. Early on, he had a bit more a menacing eyebrow situation and a larger beak kind of face and some sharp teeth. And then nowadays he has more of a rounded nose with some like rounded, less menacing eyes. But he's still got his sort of like gonzo-y, Grover-y kind of blue textured fur going on. But again, I said he was similar to Cookie Monster, and that's because he started in the exact same commercial as Cookie Monster. He was in the Wheels, Crowns, and Flute commercial. That was the...
the crown grabber.
He was the crown grabber in the unaired Wheels, Crowns, and Flutes commercial from 1966. Obviously, Wheel Stealer, Mr. Cookie Monster, went on to great fame, and the Flute Snatcher, whatever
Poor
he's called,
Flute Snatcher.
didn't get...
Yeah.
He shows up a couple more times, but he is not famous at all.
He gets invited to Kermit and Piggy's wedding, and that's about it.
Everyone gets invited, Sam.
Oh, no.
But yes, he started off in 1966 as the crown grabber. He looked pretty much the same for a while. He even goes on to be in the IBM films. There's one where he is the one who is trying to get Kermit to wrap it up and is intimidating Kermit.
Right.
And he would go on to be on the Ed Sullivan Show, which is where he would get his name in 1969, and the Beautiful Day sketch with the little girl who's trying to have a good day and he's just trying to rain on her parade.
One of the best Muppet sketches of all, I would say.
Oh, definitely. And he would even go on to appear in the first season of Sesame Street as a sort of regular character there.
Oh, interesting.
He even appeared as a friend of Cookie Monster in one sketch, which feels like a nice little callback to their commercial days.
Yeah.
But he would not stick around in the world of Sesame Street. In the Jim Henson's Design and Doodles book, he's described as a hulk of a monster with a Boris Karloff accent and teeth that resembled giant knitting needles.
What?
I think
That's not...
Yeah, so he kind of... One of the things we'll get into here is he's been performed by pretty much every Muppet performer that exists. So a consistent voice he does not have. But in the first sort of wheel stealer, crown grabber thing, I guess he kind of sounds like the Frankenstein monster a little bit, but it's a bit of a stretch, I would say.
Does he have big teeth?
He has definitely some teeth. I don't think knitting needles is what I would compare them to, but he has some pretty vicious-looking teeth. And then for the Muppet Show, they reconstructed him and removed his teeth to make him a little less frightening. And then Beautiful Day Monster kind of pops up in a lot of things over the years. He's in random episodes of like the Jim Henson Hour and Muppets Tonight and these things, and he's just always around. And there was a totally rebuilt version of him made for the 2011 Muppets movie. So like that's the one you're probably seeing nowadays is that 2011 version. Right. And he's popped up frequently since then, including apparently in the Muppets Take the Bull thing that we referenced earlier. He walks by during the, quote, parade of obscure characters. Which I really want to see now.
Yeah.
And apparently in that, Kermit acknowledges him by name. Like he calls him Beautiful Day Monster in that segment.
He seems like somebody who needs a new name more than like...
Behemoth?
Behemoth.
Yeah, Behemoth had a really solid name, and now he's Clean Gene.
This guy could be Clean Gene.
He
looks
should.
like a Clean Gene.
Yeah, give Behemoth his name back and name this guy Clean Gene. No one will notice. And speaking of that, on Sesame Street, he went by the names such as Fred, Harold, Louie, Snooky, Lulu, and Windy, and Ralph. Like
Snooky?
Yeah, he was Snooky before Snooky.
She's a big Muppet fan, I guess.
Yeah, she was like, I'm going to name myself after the Beautiful Day Monster's one appearance where he was called Snooky.
She knows the deep lore.
Snooky, come on the podcast. You can chat about Muppets.
Yeah, please.
But as I mentioned, performer-wise, Beautiful Day Monster has never had like a consistent performer. Originally, he was performed by Jim Henson for the commercials because Jim Henson was like the only one doing consistent performances. But through the years, he's been performed by Frank Oz, Carol Spinney, Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt, Kevin Clash, and these days Bill Barretta. And I think he does get like one or two words worth of a line in Muppets Haunted Mansion, and he's singing along with them in the great big ballroom scene.
Doesn't he get to tell a joke in the At the Dance part of that, maybe?
I think you're right, actually. I don't remember what it was, but I think you're right.
I think he gets a short line, yeah.
But yeah, that's really all there is to say about Beautiful Day Monster. I'm actually surprised we had that much to say.
Yeah, that was a lot more than we've had to say about more famous Muppets. I feel like.
And I think that's part of the thing is that like he is a more famous Muppet than anyone gives him credit for, and he's been around longer than anyone would realize. And he does get that great sketch with Paul Williams where he's trying to take a trip, and he's like, "You got any cheaper?" And he just, like eventually gets flattened and shipped in the mail.
Very strange that he gets that whole sketch to himself. It does not really show up that much otherwise in the Well, he shows up in the background a lot, but not really in any bigger role.
Yeah, I think he just never had a consistent personality that like let him live on and be that interesting.
His new puppet looks like shit also, I think.
I don't love it.
He used to look really cool.
He like sort of looked like he could be related to Freckles early on, and then he sort of started to move away from that over the years.
I love the nose as his upper lip thing.
Yeah.
That's a very fun design.
But how would you rate Beautiful Day Monster out of your 5-star scale?
I think he looks great. He's in a great skit with the Beautiful Day, original Beautiful Day thing with the sleight of hand to make him shrink. I don't think I can give him too high a score, really, but a 3.5 maybe? I like him.
That feels fair. Let's see. Out of 60. Yeah, he's also not going to be super high up on my list. But again, I like him. I like that he's been around so long. He's carried a lot of the weight in those early things. He gets a 38.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty low because he doesn't have much of a personality to like charm me. But I like his design, so he's not getting like below a 30.
You know, I miss Muppet commercials.
I had the same thought. I rewatched the Wheel Stealer commercial, and just the energy and the charm of that commercial, like I immediately was missing that.
I think they work best live and in extremely short doses, like in a commercial, with a really clear point of view and a punchline.
I miss that Wilkins Jim Henson energy. Like I wish he would.
Yeah.
And he might. That I'm just not remembering it. Like, but I feel like he needs a character that is like a Wilkins type, very erratic type of energy.
Yeah, like a serial killer vibe somewhere in there.
Yeah,
and crazy eyes.
Bad things happen to people who don't listen to me.
Yeah, he doesn't ever scream or anything anymore.
Well, he eventually gets Guy Smiley. I feel like is the closest to a completely insane character that he gets, but it's still not Wilkins energy. All right, Sam, so on top of all of this Muppet stuff from both 1971 and 1978 that we watched this week, did you watch any non-Muppet stuff?
I did. It feels like I've been waiting forever to talk about this, but I saw The Eternals.
Ooh,
did you see that yet?
I did not see it yet. I have not been to a movie theater.
I actually really liked it.
Ooh.
I thought it was good. A lot of people have talked so much shit about it, but it feels like a Marvel movie to me, for better or for worse. I liked it a little bit better than I liked Shang-Chi, which I thought was just okay. This had better. They were actually, like, you could tell that they were in real places, which was refreshing. It kind of, in retrospect, makes you look at other ones and be like, oh, they're just green screened onto that forest or whatever. And I thought the story was really interesting. There's a lot of like moral ambiguity to the whole situation, and like the end fight is kind of like, oh, I don't actually know who's doing the right thing here. And I thought, it kind of flew. It's like long, but it flew by. I don't know. People give it a lot of flack, but I've been enjoying it. I really enjoyed it.
I want to see it. I just have not yet.
And I also saw The French Dispatch, which is the new Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
Which was great. As they all are, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's only a couple stinkers in there.
And even the stinkers look good.
Yes.
So,
I'm looking at you, Zissou.
Oh, what? That's my favorite one.
Oh, that's my least favorite one by far.
You sick man. I love that one.
That's definitely my least favorite.
Wow. I don't like the hotel one. What's that one?
Oh, Grand Budapest?
Yeah. I'm not crazy about that one. I'm not crazy about Darjeeling Limited either.
Yeah, see, I like both of those.
Well, we're never going to agree on anything.
Nope. That's why we're the old, what are we? Bert and Ernie? Statler and Waldorf? We're one of those famous Muppet duos.
We're a little bit of both. We're too old to be Bert and Ernie.
I say we're Bert and Ernie working our way towards Statler and Waldorf. We're like somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I was inspired by the Elton John episode to watch Rocket Man, the biopic about his rise to fame, because I had not seen it and I had heard really good things about it. So, it's pretty good. Taron Egerton plays Elton John in that and sings all the song and does like an amazing job. So much so that like when I went to watch the Elton John episode for a second time this week, it was weird to see him singing it again.
Ooh,
so I was
weird.
like, oh yeah, and I got used to Taron Egerton for a while there, and now I'm watching the real guy. It's weird. One of my first things I noticed when watching it is Taron Egerton walks in to a scene wearing a very like deep cut V neck kind of thing, and I was like, oh, they did not get the chest hair accurate.
Oh no,
he does not have
just
a carpet.
roll that guy, roll him around in some glue. Come on.
Yeah, but there is a Muppet connection in the film.
Oh.
They don't show him like doing his Muppet Show episode or anything, but at one point they're talking to him about possibly doing the Royal Variety performance, and they say Lord Grade called to talk to you about the royal performance. And that is the same Lord Lou Grade who produced The Muppet Show. And
did he produce the Royal Variety performance?
I think he produced everything ever made in England in the 70s.
Oh, cool.
He was a very, very prolific man who was like had a lot of power and money. And so
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I heard them say like Lord Grade, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy. But yeah, that does it for this week. Next week, we are going to be watching some more Muppet Show, because we'll be watching what the Muppets were up to between February 24th, 1978 and March 6th, 1978. That huge chunk of time. Which means we'll be watching the Muppet Show episodes featuring Peter Sellers, Lou Rawls, and J.P. Morgan. And we'll also be checking out a short clip from The Vent Event, which was a ventriloquist celebration hosted by Edgar Bergen. And this clip...
the Vent Event?
It's called The Vent Event.
That's a good name.
Yeah. And it's maybe one of my favorite Muppet things we've watched so far.
Oh,
because it's pretty much a summary of everything we've talked about over the last 34 episodes distilled into just 5 minutes.
Cool. Okay.
It is Kermit and Fozzie with Dr. Jerry Nelson, the historian expert of the Muppets, basically giving a full rundown of who the Muppets are and how they got famous.
Oh, we could have done this in 5 minutes?
Yeah, we could have just played that clip and then been like, and now you're caught up.
Oh, no.
But we'll discuss that more next time. For now, we need to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at CommitmentPod, where we'll tweet out the links to things like the Vent Event that you can watch. And you can also email us at mail@commitment.com if you have any Muppet memories you'd like to share with us. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.